Something enormous is happening in world football right now, and most people are only just beginning to understand the full scale of it. Argentine players, some of the most celebrated names in the modern game, are staring down the barrel of bans, expulsions, and a future that looks dramatically different from the one they imagined just months ago. We are talking about potential suspensions stretching across multiple matches, clubs quietly pushing their Argentine stars toward the exit, and the presidents of both FIFA and UEFA making statements that would have seemed absolutely unthinkable even a year ago. The talent is undeniable. The controversy is even harder to deny, and the consequences are now arriving whether anyone in Argentina is ready for them or not. Stay right here until the very end, because this story has layers that will genuinely leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the current state of world football. And if you want to be first every single time a story this big breaks, subscribe to this channel right now because we do not slow down. Let us begin where the storm is loudest. The Premier League. It is the wealthiest and most watched football competition on the planet. And it also happens to be the league that absorbed more Argentine players than any other in Europe. For years, that arrangement worked perfectly well for everyone involved. Argentine talent elevated clubs. Clubs provided the kind of platform and salary that Argentine football could never offer domestically. But the events surrounding the most recent World Cup have fundamentally fractured that relationship, and the cracks are now impossible to ignore. Physical confrontations between Argentine and English players, deeply offensive political banners aimed directly at England, a visible and documented lack of respect shown toward the national anthem and the flag of the host nation. These were not isolated moments. They formed a pattern, and the Premier League has seen enough. Reports coming out of the English media are now confirming what many suspected. Several clubs have already made internal decisions to remove Argentine players from their squads. The door is not completely closed. An apology, a genuine and public one, could still change the outcome for some of these players. But here is the problem. Not a single Argentine player has stepped forward to offer one. Not one. And while they stay silent, the clock is running. Look at what happened with Cristian Romero. Before everything fell apart, he was a fixture at Tottenham, a defender who had established himself as one of the better center backs in the Premier League. That chapter is now over. He is signed with Atletico Madrid, and while some headlines tried to frame this as a career upgrade, the reality underneath the surface tells a very different story. Romero accepted a significant salary reduction just to complete that deal. The clubs that reportedly had genuine interest, Inter Milan, Manchester City, Barcelona, all of them stepped back. None of them followed through. Atletico Madrid did not sign him because they were fighting off competition. They signed him because nobody else would. And it is worth noting that Atletico Madrid under Diego Simeone has become something of a refuge for Argentine players specifically. Simeone is Argentine. His loyalty to his countrymen is well documented and frankly unconditional. Regardless of form, regardless of reputation, if you are Argentine and you need a club, Simeone will find room for you. That is not a compliment dressed up as criticism. It is simply the observable pattern that is played out repeatedly at the Wanda Metropolitano. Then there is Enzo Fernandez, and this is where the story becomes truly extraordinary. Before the World Cup, Enzo Fernandez was one of the most coveted midfielders in European football. Real Madrid wanted him, Barcelona wanted him, Paris Saint-Germain were watching. He was the kind of player clubs build their future around. That version of Enzo Fernandez no longer exists in the transfer market. What replaced it is a situation that his own agent is desperately trying to manage. He mocked his French teammates in a video that spread instantly across social media. He has refused to play in key fixtures while simultaneously pushing for a pay raise that would make him one of the highest earners at a club where he is already among the top earners. Chelsea's board has been straightforward with him. Bring them an official offer and they will accept it. The brutal reality is that no official offer has arrived. Real Madrid released a public statement making clear they have no interest in signing him and that players with his attitude do not fit the profile of their club. Every report claiming multiple elite clubs are chasing Enzo Fernandez should be read with significant skepticism. This is a strategy deployed by agents when a player's value has collapsed. Manufacture the appearance of demand. Create the impression of a bidding war. Hope that the perception eventually produces a real offer. For Enzo Fernandez, it does not appear to be working. Chelsea have made their position clear. He either performs or he spends the season on the bench, or worse, goes out on loan to a lower division club. For a player of his supposed standing, that would be a humiliation with few parallels in recent football history. Julian Alvarez presents yet another dimension of this unfolding situation. Atletico Madrid supported him, developed him within their system, and gave him a platform that helped restore his confidence and form after leaving Manchester City. His response has been to make it abundantly clear that he wants Barcelona and only Barcelona. The official offer from Barcelona has not materialized. It keeps not materializing. And in the meantime, his relationship with Atletico Madrid continues to deteriorate with every interview and every report that leaks out of his camp confirming his desire to leave. Then there is Emiliano Martinez, the Aston Villa goalkeeper, who spent the better part of last year publicly auditioning for a move to one of Europe's biggest clubs. He told anyone who would listen that Juventus were coming for him. Juventus did not come for him. Aston Villa showed considerable patience, more than most clubs would have offered, and allowed him to continue playing despite the distraction his transfer saga created. That patience has now run out. Villa have told him directly to find another club. The possibility of players of this caliber ending up in second division football is no longer a hypothetical. It is a direction multiple situations are actively moving toward. Now shift attention to UEFA and Alexander Ceferin because the consequences arriving from that direction carry an entirely different weight. The Champions League, the Europa League, the Conference League. These competitions represent the pinnacle of club football, and the financial rewards attached to them are staggering. For Argentine players based in Europe, participation in these tournaments is not just professionally important, it is economically transformative. Ceferin has made his position explicit. The background to his warning traces back to the controversy surrounding FIFA president Gianni Infantino and his attempts to restructure broadcasting rights and tournament formats in ways that many within European football viewed as a fundamental power grab. UEFA drew a clear line. Any nation that backed Infantino's proposals would face a boycott that would result in players from that nation being banned from European competition. The Argentine Football Association released an official statement confirming their support for Infantino. They did not hedge, they did not equivocate, they signed on fully. That decision now carries consequences that will ripple through the careers of every Argentine player currently competing in Europe. It also explains something that might otherwise seem puzzling. Why clubs like Chelsea, Real Madrid, and Barcelona are so openly willing to move their Argentine players on. A player you cannot field in your Champions League campaign is not an asset. He is a liability with a wage attached. The FIFA dimension of this story adds yet another layer. Infantino is under serious pressure from multiple directions simultaneously. A federal investigation with reported links to allegations involving illicit funds and bribery. A formal probe initiated by 72 members of the European Parliament who are collectively working toward removing him from office permanently. These are not rumors circulating on fan forums. These are documented institutional processes being reported by major outlets across multiple countries. Meanwhile, FIFA has sanctions ready for Leandro Paredes related to his conduct during World Cup matches against Spanish players. Sources indicate a 9-match suspension is being prepared. Similar punishments are being assembled for others. The delay in announcing these decisions is widely attributed internally to Infantino's direct interference in slowing the process. The evidence was broadcast live to a global audience. There is nothing left to investigate regarding what happened. The question has always been whether the will exists to actually enforce the rules that already exist. Right now, that will appears to be building outside of FIFA rather than within it. The domestic reality waiting for Argentine players on the other side of all this is one they have spent years actively mocking. Argentine media figures, prominent voices with national platforms, spent considerable time dismissing the Liga MX as an amateur competition populated by players who could not compete at the elite level. Those comments were made publicly, and they were made repeatedly. Mexican football fans heard every word, and they remember. That particular escape route is effectively closed by the hostility those remarks created. What remains is the Argentine domestic league itself, the same competition those same media figures described as beneath serious consideration. Clubs like San Lorenzo and Banfield have faced genuine financial crises in recent years, with wage payments delayed and operational budgets stretched to breaking point. The gap between earning a Premier League salary and playing in front of a half-empty stadium while waiting for a paycheck is not a gap. It is a canyon. And yet, the talent is real. That much cannot be disputed and should not be dismissed. A Champions League without Julian Alvarez playing at his best is a lesser competition. A Serie A without Lautaro Martinez is objectively diminished. These players have earned their status through performance, not through reputation alone. The Premier League's stated position leaves a door open. Players who offer a full, genuine public apology can continue. That is the offer on the table. It is not complicated. It requires humility that has so far been entirely absent from the Argentine response. One of our regular viewers, Roger, put the core question simply and well. If Argentine players disappeared from European football entirely, what would actually happen? His honest assessment was that the quality dip would be real but manageable. Brazil, France, Portugal, the Netherlands, England itself. European football has no shortage of elite talent to draw from. The clubs would adjust. The competitions would survive and continue to generate the same extraordinary level of interest. The players themselves, however, would lose access to the competitive environment that made them who they are. The training standards, the tactical complexity, the global exposure. The next generation of Argentine footballers would pay the price for decisions made by this one. Argentina needs European football significantly more than European football needs Argentina. That is not an insult. It is a structural reality. And right now, it is a reality that a very specific group of Argentine players needs to reckon with honestly before the window to do so closes completely.